One day I woke up and I said, it's time to remove the fig leaf.
Hey, it's Ernie. One of the hardest things in life is figuring out how to live in a way that actually feels like you.
I want to be all of who I am. And it's scary because I'm not even sure what that looks like.
Not just what pays the bills, not just what looks good on paper, but the kind of life where your body, your mind, and your spirit all feel like they're in the same place.
Sometimes in life, you feel like something's missing. Maybe you have goals, but something sometimes feels off or something feels stuck.
Today, you're going to meet my friend Fidel. For years, he and his family were constantly moving.
We were relocating every year for 7 years in a row. We were moving. Wife was overseas, and even before that, there were different military moves. And we're a family of six, so I've got 4 kiddos.
Out of that came this space called Surf City Flow. But it's more than a yoga studio or a massage table. It's a place where people come to remember who they are.
Flow is not just a place where we come and practice yoga, where clients come in for body work. It's really a space for possibility, for experiences, a place for community to come in and connect with one another, but also it's a space for me.
I love Fidel's story because he doesn't talk about self-care as something you check off. He talks about it as life care. He talks about removing the fig leaf, being fully yourself, and letting that authenticity ripple out into your family and your community. Even into strangers who just see him roller skating over a bridge. As you listen, pay attention to the moments where you feel your own heart react. Maybe it's when he talks about moving every year. Maybe it's the story with his daughter. Maybe it's that question he keeps asking people. How do you feel when you walk out that door? Whatever it hits you, that's probably the part that's for you. Let's step into his story.
My name is Fidel Forde, and right now we're sitting inside Surf City Flow. Surf City Flow is a local business here where we get to encourage, equip, and empower our community through movement, through mindset, through support, and through different experiences. I think even before going into the purpose behind Surf City Flow, the background to how this came about really matters. So when we moved here several years ago, we were relocating every year for 7 years in a row. We were moving. Wife was overseas, and even before that, there were different military moves. And we're a family of six, so I've got 4 kiddos. And so being able to, it was really hard to find a place to belong, to connect, and to fit in. So when we moved to Surf City and said we want to make Surf City a home, what does that look like? And it was, how do I contribute back to community, a place where I get to belong, and also find community while creating community at the same time. So when Flow was presented, so Flow actually the name came from a client, and I was like, oh, that's great. And so once this building came into place, it was, how do we bring in all the different elements of the things that I've learned over the last several years, whether it's through life empowerment coaching, through speaking, roller skating, massage therapy, wellness, just a place of empowerment for the body, for the mind, and for life. And trying to weave that through where all the things can come together, even though it might be a little bit messy. So flow is not just a place where we come and practice yoga, where clients come in for body work, for healing, or our sound baths, or our motivational talks. It's really a space for possibility, for experiences, a place for community to come in and connect with one another, but also it's a space for me where all of my values and all the things that make me come alive are woven into the studio space. And that brings out something in me that I just get to share with the folks that walk through the door. So it's a space for me to be all of who I am and to express my gifts in the ways that move me without feeling the limitations that sometimes business and life can put on a business or put on an impact. And that place also for our people who walk through the door to experience that same thing. So when you walk into the door, you see the waviness of the floors, right? That flow, you see the splashes of paint that's here, the sign that says, let it be messy. And so it's a space of all these mindsets and thought processes that's been built in from the ground up. So when you look around, there's a reflection of different philosophies, mindsets, and an energy really here, the life, like the plants that we have in here, to bring life. Yeah, so Surf City Flow, it's a building and it's a name, and it's not just about the building and the name. It's about tapping into an energy that helps people get into their flow state, to remember what it's like to tap into their flow. And flow state, a place of mindset, a place of alignment. And that gets to happen in our bodies, in our minds, and in our lives. As far as our yoga practice here, one of the things we like to talk about is if you can do it on the mat, you can do it off of the mat, right? Taking what we experience on the mat or on the table off into the real world. And flow is still developing of what it wants to become. We don't have any specific labeling names outside of just Surf City Flow. And so we are flowing with the needs, and as things come in or come out, to really discover what it is that it wants to become. You may notice a sign on the wall that says "limitless," right? And so it's, what does that look like, to be have limitless possibilities, and be open to shift in a different direction. I think one of the problems and challenges in business today is putting a period on something that might shift or might move. I think it's important to have a niche when it comes towards business, but one of my personal values is flexibility. What does it take to take my personal values and weave them into my business so that I'm one person, whether I'm in the building or I'm outside of the building, and have my business values be in flow with myself and operating from a place of alignment? So, one of my values is flexibility. And so, how can I create a business and hold a business that allows me to be flexible with the times? Now, I got to tell you why that's also important, because being a military spouse and moving, I've had to adapt back and forth. There have been places where maybe one of my licensors weren't being accepted, so I had to do something different over there. So I've had different seasons in my life where, hey, I'm full-time life empowerment coach, or I'm full-time speaker, or I'm full-time massage therapist, or I'm doing full-time yoga. And it's been this place of adapting to what supports my family's needs in the times that we're in, but it's also what's going on in the community and the location, that I'm a part of. And so these different seasons in my life, and so being here in flow, it's all these things now get to come together, and finding a way to express that and to offer that in a way that not just lights me up, but also being able to share that and ignite what lights other people up as well. I was talking to a mentor of mine one time, and they said to me, I was at a place where I was struggling to decide what to do next and what to offer. And as I was sharing my different options, this person says, "You seem really excited about this one." And I was like, it's a thing I was kind of scared to maybe do, but really wanted to do, but wasn't quite sure how that even made sense, because sometimes the ideas and the thoughts that we have are just not logical. And they said they looked at me and they said, "Fidel, but you light up when you talk about this. If you got to do the thing that lights you up, because when you do the thing that lights you up, you show up 100% to it, and those that you get to impact and those that are around you receive that version of you." And you could do something else because it's the right idea or the right thing to do, but if it doesn't light you up, if you got to try to guard or be a particular way to do it, you're really not going to be able to make that impact. Not, that energy is going to kind of show through it. So their suggestion was, do the thing that you are most excited about, because it brings out the fullness of you, and it's out of that fullness you get to share that with everyone else. As far as the flow state and being here in the flow, setting things up in a way to encourage to bring out the best version of myself. And it's things are still moving and adapting and all of that, because you got to play with it or test drive out some things to find out that sweet spot, connect with that flow, because the flow does shift and change in different seasons. So yeah, we get to shift and change with the seasons here within flow, and just be mindful, whether it's the type of people that are walking through the door, what we're noticing of the community that we're serving in this season, or the tourist season, when the tourists come in, and what are the tourist needs and the community needs, and then how do we adapt to those tides and provide those offerings, or kind of create those shifts. So even like last week, we rolled out a different workshop that was really popular, and then folks were, can we do this once a month? When's the next one? And so listening for the needs of our community, showing up for that in that particular way, and being willing to just adapt. But that's kind of the heartbeat, a little bit there. To encourage, equip, and empower body, mind, and in life, while remaining in our values, having that flexibility, But one of the connection is a big thing here. It's really neat when students and clients come in and they meet one another and they walk out with a friend and they connect. It's a pretty open, authentic, space and privilege really to be in. It is scary to follow your passion, to go all in something that you truly believe. It's also vulnerable. You're expressing yourself through your business, through your life, through your work, and it's you're opening your heart practically for the world to see it. And if it's not in alignment with somebody else's views or values, you kept it inside for a while to protect it, and then you decide to put it out there with the world. Yeah, it's very scary, um, and it's messy. There was a moment years ago. I mentioned a lot of my philosophies, my life experiences have kind of led into a developing philosophy where they merge together. I had this image several years ago of like Adam and Eve. And Adam had that fig leaf, right? Why? Because he was hiding behind something. And then one day I woke up and I said, it's time to remove the fig leaf. I want to be all of who I am. And it's scary because I'm not even sure what that looks like, right? But to remove the fig leaf and to be vulnerably like just like naked and exposed through passion and through this is me. And the image that came following that was I'm walking down the street and people are gasping and looking, right? Who's this person who's just imagine someone just nude walking down the street, right? You'd be like, what's happening? What's happening? But emotionally, right, passion wise. And I remember they were pointing. Some might have been laughing, and then somebody walked up to me, and this vision that came through, and said, looked at me and said, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. And then I looked at myself, and then I was like, everything you see, it's true. This is me. This is me. I do look this way, right? I do think this way. This is how I do express my passion. This really is me. I don't have it all together and figure it out. Things are messy. It takes me sometimes longer to get things together than most people do, but eventually I will get it. And so to lead with all of who I am and just say, hey, yeah, this is me, not putting leaf back. And that was the second decision. I'm not putting the leaf back to hide. This is me. And what's neat about walking, you know, in that emotional nudity, in a way, is at first you feel cold because you're used to being covered. You have certain ways of being operated, but eventually, like it's not that cold out. You start to embrace the vulnerability of it all. And the neat thing about that is that gives people permission to remove that fig leaf and to say, great, I'll walk with you. This is me too. This is me. How does that impact those that are around me? It's blown my mind, the impact me roller skating um, has had on community, has had on myself. Some of the biggest impact of that is what people share with me about watching me roller skate. When I know the truth, when I started roller skating here in the community and going over the bridge and all of that is because I wanted to feel more free on the inside. And roller skating was the thing. I was like, maybe. What does that look like? I purchased these skates and I sat on them for a whole month after it took me forever to make the decision to skate. And here I am thinking, what are people going to think if I skate outside of my neighborhood, if I really go out there and I go do that? But action cures fear. And it was that place of, ooh, I'm noticing this resistance to hide or put up a leaf and not do this thing. So I have to go out there. I have to go out there and do it and overcome whatever that means. And something about being on the wheels and moving and the movement and the things that move through me, it lights me up and it brings me joy. And so joy is infectious and people pick up on energy and things like that. And so how does lining with ourselves and what brings us happy have that impact on everybody else? So folks have walked up to me and say, yeah, I was having a rough day. I didn't even know, but I saw you roller skating. I didn't even know someone could be so joyous or move that way, or I'm inspired, or yeah, I want to get roller skates. Can you train me? Can you show me? My kids love seeing you when we're out and about and mix their day on the way to school or whatever is happening. And then to walk into, this is before opening up business here, to walk into an establishment and people to say, hey, are you the Surf City roller skater? What? I didn't need, I'm just trying to find and break free from something or free to something and create something that's going to help me feel good and transition and feel in my own skin, not even knowing that was going to have an impact on other people around me. So, where that has kind of grown too is I've noticed that I enjoy roller skating while giving seminars and speaking engagements. So, talk about just that thread and how that kind of comes together. How a part of me, something for me personally, has now also become somewhat of a staple, also in business, where I'm the same person. So as far as when we're our authentic self and we help other people be their authentic self, yes, yes, yes. That's a noble thing to really consider to do when it comes towards, especially for impact driven. But the reality is this: um, you can't control how people feel. And sometimes the biggest impact you can make is trying to make the biggest impact on yourself. And yes, if that does impact someone to be more of themselves, hey, that's a bonus. I'm pretty heart driven, and sometimes it's easier to do something for somebody else than it is to do it for myself. But I think when we could, hey, what's gonna do the thing for us? And then we could be at a place where we can share that with other people. And so it's different from giving something to somebody else versus sharing that with others. So yes, other people, community, however it is, they get to see what might be possible and then figure out and lean into what that looks like for themselves. But it's really neat because we do give people permission. I am probably this way because of the way I've seen other people express themselves. I talked about me roller skating, one of my fullest expressions, but I didn't tell you about a time when I was in my early 20s, working in the DC area in Chinatown, and there was this guy that would run in the middle of the street wearing these tight fitted shorts with his big headphones on, dancing in the middle of the road, and then dancing back, leaning, going back and forth. And I remember like, whoa, wow, who is that guy? See him every day, get off at the train station. I remember having this thought, man, I wish that I had the freedom to move and express myself like that. He wasn't doing it for me. He was being him. But look at me now, out the road. And so we get to pass that on because it is contagious. And when we see somebody being fully themselves, it's like a light bulb goes off and an invitation for us to do the same thing for us. And that does get to happen. We're all learning and we're growing. I am starting to recognize and realize too that the more I am of who I am, if that makes any sense, it also still makes people feel uncomfortable. Especially if someone's not used to seeing someone be fully all of who they are, especially if you're different. I'm Jamaican and African. Okay, first generation here in the U.S. Got high energy. I grew up in a real interesting way, and there's a lot about me, and I'm radically passionate, expressive, all the different things. But that you never. I'm even finding the words right now. It's everybody's not always for you, but your vibe attracts your tribe and all of that. And sometimes things repel because folks don't understand, and that's that opportunity. And even for myself, still learning right now how to navigate that, learning to be okay, not being okay with everybody else, but I've got to be okay with me and then my circle and the people that I'm with. So yes, we get to be ourselves and help other people be themselves too. But the other side of that coin is sometimes, being all of who you are, um, you know, rubs people a certain way, and that's something we just get to navigate. I just get filled up with a lot of gratitude, even just thinking about the impact. Sometimes it's tough to say that I'm making on people, right? But the impact that gets being made, and there's just a lot of gratitude because I did not get here by myself. If anything else, somebody believed in me, and I feel like they made belief deposits in me. And then eventually, I was like, I think I can. I was able to kind of build up this belief account and then make my own withdrawals that came from other people depositing their, yes, you can, Fidel, let's go. Whether it's mentors in corporate and work and life and family, and then coming to that place of like, I think I can. And then learning to continue to take action and let that positive, that interest just grow in belief and what else is possible. And it feels like you're doing things for the first time because you're just going into the next threshold and you're like, okay. And then you're able to kind of bring that. But I mean, I am who I am, and what I am, and also what I'm becoming, because of the people that have believed, my mentors, all the life experiences, believed in me. So that just gets to be passed on. And when you have that account of belief, and then you see someone, you remember, you know what you where you were, and da 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 da. And there's an excitement because you know where you came from and like what's possible, and you see it in them too, and you just want to pass that on and like, okay, and yeah, fan their flames of greatness as they go along the same way, because we're all really going through the same thing. You know how sometimes in life you feel like something's missing? Maybe you have goals, but something sometimes feels off or something feels stuck. Whether it's mental confusion, whether it's some annoying discomfort that you're feeling into your body, or and sometimes it's purpose, and fulfillment, and where we just want to really find that spark and be in that place where we just smile, not because we're faking it, but we just naturally tap into joy. Here at Surf City Flow, that's exactly what we do. We help people tap into their spark. And so whether it's getting rid of their pain and shifting how they respond through stressors, tapping into their flow state, where they just feel the flow of creativity, of ease and peace coming through, or identifying what their next step is in their business or in their life. Here at Surf City Flow, I've been able to combine all of my background as a life empowerment coach, massage therapist, yoga teacher, somatic body worker, roller skater, and bring it all together. What's important to me here, and I also think like for a community, when you walk into the door and you come into Surf City Flow, it's about the experience, that you have. There's a lot of services and offers that we bring to the table. But it's the experience of really connecting with each individual person, and our clients when they walk through the door, to find out what it is that they need and how to support them, and identifying their next step so they can feel their best, think their best, and move their best. Those things are so entwined. When we're in pain and experiencing stress, it's tough to think clearly, to be creative, to go out there and crush it in business, or and all those different things. But when we could shift the pain and remember that there's possibility, to move, that you're not just getting old, there's something that you can do about it. It is very empowering. It's not a workout if we're looking at our movement experiences that we bring, where you just check the box and say, I worked out today. It's really an opportunity to prep your body for the day. So we energize our folks who come into this door, so they can optimize the way that they live their life when they're walking out of here, whatever that is, whatever that looks for them. That's a lot of the why and the passion, behind it there. Yeah, because self care is not something you just check the box on. No, we're here to live our best lives and to feel good. But we need the movement, we need the mindset, the inspiration, the community, and that experience that just you feel like you can go out there, and just conquer the world in some ways. Now, it's very stressful in our world today that we live in. There's always been some level of stress, but to be able to have a space you can come to where you can exhale, reset, regroup, come back home, remember what's important. And I guess that happen through multiple modalities and different experiences, but it's the space that we hold here, for someone to walk in and be able to feel refreshed. There's the sign behind me. I'm not sure if you can read it, but it says, hey, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Sometimes we're caught in how we're currently feeling or the things that are happening, but the mind's so powerful. When we can identify, or in yoga, sometimes we say set an intention, but how you want to feel, we can then take steps after we've gotten clear on that. And what does that look like? What does that feel like to move in that direction to create the way that we want to feel? Yeah, I use a lot of my training and personal experiences, especially around coaching and empowerment with my clients or my classes. But if I'm working with somebody one on one, there is some way I ask that question: How would you like or love to feel? at some particular point in our conversation, depending on why someone's coming in to work with me. If somebody's coming in with pain, and something's going on in their body, and they want to have more movement or work that out, they're telling me how they're currently feeling, what those limitations are. And I might say something like, when you're walking out of the door today, right? How would you like or love to feel walking out? Right? And the responses are different every single time. Sometimes it's, I want to feel hope because I've been in pain for so long, and just if I can have a little bit of relief, I can maybe know something might shift because I'm in pain. It keeps me up at night. I want to feel like I could sleep well tonight. And so when they share how they want to feel, it gives me, it tunes me in a little bit of why this time is actually important for them, and then why I'm holding that space, and then wanted to be able to navigate their session or time together, in a way that supports the way that they would like or love to feel, because we get to partner almost in that particular way, and create an experience for that. Um, I know why, and 'cause I know why it's important. I've heard of people having different experiences where they're they feel like they're being treated like number next, right? It's like, here's what's going on, da da da. You do this, and you kind of get out the door. Maybe you have some conversation, but it's not often we get to remember what it is that we actually want, and that is possible. Yeah, so that's one way I ask those questions. Another version of that, I could weave it in and say I'm having a coaching conversation with someone. It might be, when you're walking out of the door today, like what would have to happen or shift today, to say that your time here was worth it? Because sometimes people will come in with this ache or this limitation or this mindset block, or whatever's going on, and but what does the complete picture look like? And when we can get that picture in our mind, that somewhat of a visualization, it almost becomes real, almost becomes possible. But we now identified a goal, and now we get to work out those steps to get there. And then a follow-up question to that after a session or after we've been working together. You said you wanted to feel XYZ walking out of this door today. Where are you right now on feeling that compared towards when you were when you walked in? And yes, it's for me a little bit because I'm trying to gauge, hey, did we tailor this right today? Is something still missing to have this feeling of completion? But also, really, it's for them, with that awareness and acknowledgement, to check in with where they are and walk away in a grounded way of, okay, something is different. You asked if there's a story sometimes I tell. As it relates to this, it's almost, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? And so the things that we don't acknowledge, there's no sound. It's like it didn't even happen. We can have a session, a breakthrough conversation, but if we can't acknowledge like what just happened, if that tree felt, if that breakthrough happened, we've got to almost name it, and then so we can walk out in that grounded way of, okay, I heard it, it's with you. So yeah, what we don't acknowledge, we can't celebrate. We can't take with us. It was like it was just an experience that passed, but it wasn't really anchored or there. So we got to be able to know what that is. And even if someone did not walk out with their full expectations, but they're aware of that, and that's the powerful thing about coaching, is that awareness of, it's clear. There's clarity. There's no questions in that particular example. We're receivers and generators. Like we're always giving something off, a vibe, and or picking up certain different things. I'm very much a feeler. And I tend to feel things deeply too. And then learning to navigate that. Our world oftentimes thinks you're a thinker, you're a feeler, right? But we're all. There's so many things happening, and the more we tune into ourselves, that ability to tune into others gets a lot more sensitive. You start to pick it up, and if you have kids, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's, you walk into a room, all of a sudden you're like, woof, or you're in a room and somebody walks into the room, and all of a sudden you just turn. Sometimes there is a presence, and so we all of us as humans, we pick up, and we have a vibe of whatnot, but. Yes, I do feel when the energy that rides somebody's words when they're communicating. Um, I do feel or stay curious or observe someone's posture. watching somebody shift in conversation, whether I'm getting really excited about something, then I open, or like, yeah, what's happening here, those things like that. They're all signals and information that we pick up um, in working, and it does help me when I'm working with someone. Sometimes it's they're saying something, but I'm feeling something, and then I just remain curious when I'm working with someone, not to project, but to just notice one of the popular sayings right now we say in our classes and workshops is notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. Notice what you notice. And so when we're in these conversations, I may ask them more questions based upon some things that might be coming up for me that I'm noticing, or my observation of as far as them. When you talked about that, I noticed you grabbed your shoulder, and they may come back down, and every time it comes back up, so I may say something. Is there something? I'm just curious. I'm noticing every time you talk about this that you go up and you start grabbing your shoulder, right? Da, da, da. Are you what's going on there? And they might say, "Oh, I've got this pain," or da 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 da. Da. Or they might say, "Wow, I didn't even know that." And they could be physically irritated based upon kind of what's coming up, and that could be a point of conversation if we're here for a coaching conversation, as an example, or for some form of body work or session where we want to work that out. You know. So yeah, I do pick up, and I do feel. Personal story on that feeling. We had recently relocated. We're out west, and we're in this house that's way bigger than we need. Kids are small, and it was time for school. And my daughter was sitting down at the bottom of the stairs, and I was walking down. Now, mornings usually when the kids are younger has been the most stressful time. Got 4 kids, right? So 3 of them girls, and so getting everybody's hair done and da 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 da. It's getting somebody out of the door and catching the bus on time. A stressful time. Okay, so in the midst of just the hustle and bustle of the morning and needing to get out the door, I was walking down the steps, and my daughter was sitting down on that bottom step there. And I was walking past her, and then I just felt something, you know? And I took a breath, and then I sat down next to her, and I says, "Hey, sweetie," I said, what's wrong?" She looks at me, she goes, "Papa," she goes, "I miss my friends." I looked down at her, and then I said, "Me too." I was struggling with our relocation, um, of being in a new place again and starting over from scratch and trying to have it together and reinvent my business and what my business was going to look like in this time and what are my options and what I was going to do and da, 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 again another move. And then here we are, that pause, that moment. I didn't realize that she was hurting and struggling and sad, thinking I was the one that was hurt and struggling and sad. And we shared a moment there that I would never forget. And there's power through presence and just being there. And we just sat there, shared a couple tears, and had a moment. I will never forget that. The power of presence, to just notice what we notice, feel what we feel, and just have a pause to feel those feelings. To some degree, we're all picking up on the people that we're around and that vibe, whatnot, whether it's one on one or a group setting. I may be picking up something for someone the whole time that they're here. Even not the whole time, because we do have what are we here for to kind of work on. But there's a flow state I think you get into when you set that intention. You kind of get clear, and then sometimes you just hey, just tap into the flow and then let the flow happen and guide you and work with you there. Whether it's a dancing conversation and you're going back and forth and you know letting it go as you're still picking up things, whether you're on the mat or you're doing some kind of movement. There's a flow that happens there. You can see it when how somebody moves, or a breakthrough. One of our students had some really big surgery on their ankle, screws and all those different things, and it's been amazing to watch their breakthroughs and their growth, since their surgery, and also their mindset shift, shifting from, man, this when is this ever going to get better, to hey, grace. Okay, this may just be this way, coming to an acceptance to, oh my gosh, I never knew da 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 da. Oh, I still don't have feeling in my foot, but I'm able to find balance here, more awareness of what's going on, and these small little wins. One of the phrases we use is how you do anything is just how you do everything, right? And so how we show up on the mat is how we show up off the mat. How we breathe when we're stressed is how we, all those different things. They're all connected. So it's not really that separate, but to have an experience that sits with you, not just what you learned, but also how did you feel and what was the experience that you had and have, because that's what you get to remember. I'm a man of faith, and I believe in Jesus. Um, and far as the baptism goes, I remember hearing somebody say, when Jesus was put into the water, he heard three words, right? Or who knows what I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But this is my son who I love and I'm well pleased. This is my son, a form of acceptance, who I love, um, affirmation, and well pleased, approval. I know my own journey, when I have those three things and they come in, I feel like unstoppable. When I feel accepted, when I feel affirmed, and when I feel approved. And it's an experience. You could know you're loved, but not feel loved, right? You can know you're enough, but not feel enough, right? You could know you're capable, but still not be able to do it. And so something has to shift from our head, something that we know, to something that we feel. And then when we feel it, it almost comes alive, or there's this alignment, or what I think, I feel, what I feel, I do. There's nothing missing. And if we can do that in business, if we can do that on the mat, if we can do that with our self care and our healing journey, and not treat it as separate, but that awareness of I need to feel all of that. So, emotion, what is that? Emotion, energy in motion. We get to take that energy and we get to put that in motion and make that happen. So it's great to see those breakthroughs that my clients and our community have, as they continue to show up for them. My vision, one part of my vision is to just radically transform the way the world views self care, going from a check the box mentality towards a life empowerment way where self care is really life care, where we are receiving, we're asking for what we need, we're being mindful, and where we can fill up ourselves enough where we can kind of give from our overflow and normalize taking care of ourselves so that we're not feeling freaking guilty all the time for receiving something that we know that we need, but we feel like we're taking it away from something or somebody else. And sometimes, and not doing self care creates so much more harm because now we're showing up in a way or that we're not even capable of handling the thing that comes up. And then now we're spinning in this cycle, feeling defeated and depleted. And self-care is not just activities, it's the way that we think, it's the way that we feel, doing things that spark and create joy, because burnout's a real deal. And people don't burn out because they're doing too much. They often burn out because they're not doing enough of the things that make them happy. And there's this illusion of balance. It's overrated. There's flow. Sometimes things need more over here, a little bit more over there. And sometimes you can't have it all, but can you get a little bit of a piece of it? And helping people find and identify that piece so that it could exist. It's funny, I was saying piece like a piece of a pie, like a piece of something, but peace as well. You can find that peace in something, and then you get to work on growing that peace. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm not here to project and say, hey, this my clients have to walk out with this big impact or feel all this, and we're all whole people. I don't believe anyone's really broken. I believe we're whole, and my goal is to treat someone as they're whole, that they're not missing anything, or coming to me to fix something for them, but to empower them to find that in themselves and to do that. I'm here to hold that space for the possibilities for that to happen. And going back to those questions that we ask, what is that brings you in today? Why is this important for you here? What might shift? What do you feel might be getting in the way? And walking out of here, how would you like or love to feel? Hey, how would you know that it's complete? What are those signs? And And so our community, our clients, our customers who walk through the door, they set the intention, the goal, the why they are here. And I'm here to be of service. And so once we identify and we know how someone, what brings them in today, then we got to personalize, customize, and show up for them. And when they're here, that's the intention, and that's my goal. Holding the space for what they want, what they said, and then I just bring my tools and my skill sets and everything to the table, and then voila, it's pretty incredible that the last 2 years we've been nominated for Topsoil Choices and what they've put together to bring awareness to local businesses and just highlight businesses that are favorites here in the community. And for us to not only be nominated, but for the second year, it's their second time doing this, be in their top three has been incredible. And we've been in two top categories this year, and it grateful. I'm thankful to the community for trusting us with the work that we do and for coming in. And that's a big deal to me, especially moving here from all the relocations and all the different moving to have a place to call home. And we all love and we care for our community. Um, so I'm just super grateful. Thank you for listening and the opportunity to share a little bit of my personality. You may notice a bit of my energy too. Those little natural moments that come through. But just super grateful to share because the more we connect and we get to know the people that we're around, we can sometimes find something in common or something that maybe is being shared that we can take and personalize for ourselves, just same way others have impacted and supported me. So super grateful for this time, really just to share. It's probably a lot, um, but it's what it is. I would ask, based upon this time that we've been connecting here or vibing, what is it that has sparked for you? What are you taking away from this that you get to integrate? Whether it's a spark of creativity, inspiration, whether it's maybe an aha moment. I'm just curious, what is it that you felt, you thought, that you're taking from this time in this share? Because ideally, as you're watching this, I wanted to feel like we're sitting down and really having a conversation. If you've been struggling with pain, overwhelm, you want to make a shift, but you maybe don't know what your next step is. If you want to have more joy, more passion, it's what the success books and the things that we've heard and our parents have talked about. Get around the people that feel like sunshine. Surround yourself, put yourself into the environments where those things are possible. And here at Flow, whatever your goals are, we'd love to have a conversation with you and identify what's the support or what's the experience that you want to have. We have a lot of fun here. Um, one of our students comes back every couple of months, and the folks that have been returning, they've said, I didn't realize that some of these experiences, the classes, could be so fun, so much fun. Um, and it's just kind of neat, really, to see people come back and say, we haven't found this anywhere else. And it's the community, it's the energy, and it's the vibe. So if you're looking to be uplifted, feel good in your body, kick stress to the curb, maybe you're not even quite sure what you're looking for, but you feel like you need something. If there's a part of you inside right now that's like curious and like, yes, well, stop on by, check out our website, say hello, and happy to navigate, share our offerings, our services, our community, what we have here with you. But we're in this together. And when you feel good, everybody feels better. There's so many cool things that we offer here, and we like to have fun and normalize self care and all those different things there. Everything from life empowerment coaching, massage therapy, yoga and wellness. One of my favorite things to do is something I call "Let It Be Messy," where we get creative and spread paint on canvases and express the way that we're thinking or feeling, putting it down on paper. And these are customized experiences. But yeah, we do specialized events, restorative sound baths. We do retreats and beach experiences. Yeah, so we help people tap into their flow in so many different ways, and we also like to have fun while we do it. Being by the water here and thinking about the ripple effect that happens. It's really neat being by the water here and thinking about the ripple effects that happen. Whether it's me personally, the ripple effect of roller skating or working with a client getting out of their shoulder pain. What the ripple effect of that, which is really neat, is they get to walk out of this door, and because they're not irritated, they have more range of motion. They're a safer drive around the road, right? They're more ease when they're at home with their family, and so maybe more calm, more cool-headed. That less irritation, also meaning they're more present with their family, with their kids, with their work, or whatever it needs to do. Because being in pain, it's like a leaky battery where it's just draining you when you're trying to perform. And eventually, what happens to that battery? It's drained, and sometimes that battery dies, right? So when we're not in pain, we almost put a cap on that. And the ripple effect of scheduling time for yourself, whatever that is, and to be able to show up differently to the world, and you impact everybody around you, whether you're walking to the grocery store, whether you decide to put on some music, or when you're walking through your door, your energy has shifted because you're feeling better, you're thinking better, and you're doing better. Yeah, so there's a ripple effect in all the things that we do here, and that ripples out there into the community. So sometimes we have a large class, and it's kind of really neat to think about. You watch people walk into the door, and they're feeling a certain way. You can see it. Maybe it's early; they didn't have their coffee yet, and they're in that particular place. And all of a sudden, you see those little moments where, like, oh, a lot more loose, and they maybe a little bit more present, less fidgety, and to see this group of people like walk out into the world, right? And they get to kind of pass on how they feel with those around them because they feel better. That ripples wherever they're going. There's a sign on my wall. One of our students gave me this sign on the wall. It says, "Stop worrying, start worrying." It's something that I said in class one day. Then I started to say it. And she said, "Fidel, these words or these things, they call them Fidelisms, right? These things that you just share um, help me throughout my day and show up to my day differently, especially when I'm starting to worry." I remember, stop worrying and start worrying, and get to identify what that worrying looks like. A cool little neat hack too is even in a warrior pose with yoga, which you do that right here onto the chair. Man, when you activate something in your body, you start to feel it more in your mind as well, right? And so that's something I'm just going to give to you for free. If you ever feel like you're worrying sometime, drop into a warrior pose and remind yourself the days of worrying are over. The era of worrying, remembering who you are, starts now.
If you're still here, first of all, thank you for sitting with Fidel's story. There's a lot in what he shared. For me, a few things really stood out. That moment he talked about taking off the fig leaf, deciding, this is me. I don't have it all together. Things are messy, but I'm not hiding anymore. Most of us spend years trying to cover that up. Hearing someone say it out loud, it gives the rest of us permission to exhale a little bit and to be honest about who we are. I also love the way he treats self-care. Not as a spa day, not as an escape, but as preparation. Preparing your body, your mind, and your heart so you can actually live the life you're called to live. That picture of pain being like a leaky battery, it's such a simple way to describe something we all feel but rarely can name. And then there's the roller skating. Fidel thought he was just trying to feel free again, and it turned into a ripple. Kids watching him on the bridge, people having a terrible day and then suddenly smiling because they saw someone fully alive. That's the power of one person doing the thing that lights them up. So I want to turn this back to you. Where do you feel that little spark? Where do you feel like you've been hiding behind your own fig leaf? And if you walked out of a space like Surf City Flow today, how would you want to feel? You don't have to have a studio or skates or a business to start answering those questions. You can start with one small decision to move towards what makes you feel more whole, more honest, and more alive. If Fidel's story resonated with you, let us know in the comments what part hit you. Not for the algorithm, but because sometimes writing it down is a way of saying, I heard the tree fall. Something shifted in me. So, thank you for being here, for listening, and for caring about stories that go deeper than just content. I'm Ernie, this is Norca Legacy, and I hope this conversation helps you step a little closer into your own flow.